This is week 4, cin2003. In this chapter, we will cover DNS. What is DNS and configuring and managing DNS zones. What is DNS? Definition of DNS. Please open the slide on your computer. DNS is a naming service used by TCP/IP networks, and it's also used by the internet. The job of DNS, it translates URL to an IP address. And if you type an address, it will translate it to an IP address. In the early years, we were using host files stored, yani text files. Yani manually, you are this address for this website, this address for this URL. Because there were only few URLs, but now we have billions. So it should be dynamic. So please follow on your PowerPoint because it's not working. I'll see in the break. Okay. So we are on slide 3. So what are the benefits of DNS? Same when we talked about DHCP, we talked about the benefits of DHCP. Now, what are the benefits of DNS? Simplicity. When you will see when we configure it, it's easy to configure. Also, scalability. When your network grows, you can still use the DNS. Yes. Yeah, you can. No need to put your hand. You can talk. And also, the third one is consistency. There will be no errors. Okay. There will be no errors. So to understand DNS, we need to understand some new terms. What is FQDNS? Okay. What does it do? It maps a host name to an IP address. For example, here, if you look here, it came. Okay, alhamdulillah. This is fully qualified domain name. By the way, this is coming in the exams. So computer 1 is the host. Sales is the domain. Microsoft is the second level domain. Okay. The top level domain is .com. So computer 1 is the host. Sales is the domain. Microsoft is the second level domain. .com is the top level domain. So a host name represents a logical element that is assigned to a device. Yani for example, here, in this example here, I know that computer 1 is a host name and it is located in the sales domain. Sales could be a department, okay, which belongs to Microsoft company. Okay, so here we have computer name. Fully qualified domain is the computer name dot your domain. The domain is duwati.local. Duwati, it's logic, just imaginary, just for the training, for the education. DNS records. It is stored in a DNS database. It is made up of collections of resource records, and they are used to answer DNS queries. I will give you some examples, okay? When you type, let's say I want to go to, let's say, hp.com, website hp.com, or dell.com. I type dell.com. How does the computer know what's the IP address for dell.com? Through the DNS. Okay. This DNS is stored in a database. Each resource record, RR, specified common information about a particular object. And each record has a type an expiration time limit, and some type specific data. And this record, it's not there forever. It will expire. It has to be renewed. Okay. And some records are created automatically. For example, clients or DHCP servers create the host and pointer records. Okay. When you install DNS server, NS records are usually created, of course. We will see this in the lab. When you install domain controller, service location records are created also. We will see this when we create our domain controller in the lab. So each node or leaf in the domain name is a tree, is a resource record. Okay, it hosts information or has information associated with the domain name. Okay, we have the root domain اللي هو الدوت. Okay, remember we said .com is top level domain. Okay, the root domain is the dot itself. خلاص, agree? We have the top level domain اللي هي TLD. It consists of generic top level domains and international country codes. For example, you know, .AE, .UK, it depends on the country, .FR. Okay. Second level domains are registered to individual or organizations. Remember we said .Microsoft. A host is a specific computer or other network device in the domain. So here, if we look here, we have the computer one. It is under host, under Contoso, under .com. What is the host name? What is the domain? Says. What is the second level domain? What is the TLD, top level domain? .com. What is the .root domain? Dot. What is the root domain? Dot. Okay. Very good. These are some examples of the TLDs. AU is Australia, .gov, .edu. Okay. Resolvers. What is a resolver? A resolver is a client program that generates DNS queries. Yani on the client, to get the information from the DNS server, the client will have a program called resolver. Okay, it will send the DNS queries. It will send them to whom? From the client to whom? To the DNS server. Okay. And the resolver should have direct access to at least one DNS server to get the information, of course. Okay. And also can also process referrals to direct its queries to other servers when necessary. And if the information is not within this server, it can send it to another one. I cannot hear you. It's different. Relay agent is with DHCP. Yeah. Okay. DNS referrals and queries. When the DNS server sends a name resolution request to another DNS, yani, let's give you an example. You are a client. The user typed a website or URL, you don't know where it is. So you send it to the DNS server. The DNS server does not have this answer. but it will refer you to another DNS. We call this referral. تمام؟ يعني تحويل. Any questions? Recursive query اللي هي انه DNS server receiving the name resolution request takes full responsibility for resolving the name. If the server possesses information about the requested name, it replies immediately to the requester. If the server cannot answer the query, okay, in its cache or zones, it queries other servers to the answer by either using DNS forwarders or iterative query. يعني, please, this is important. We will show you a diagram here. You send a request. The request will go to the DNS server. The DNS server, it will take full responsibility. If it's recursive query, it will take full responsibility and give you the location of that website, the address. If it does not have the address, don't worry. The DNS server will do recursive query and send for a DNS forwarder or iterative query to another DNS to get you the information. For you as a client, you don't feel the difference, but this is taken by the DNS. Okay? So iterative, if it is sending it to another one to get full information. Recursive, if it has all the information for you. DNS forwarders. The primary DNS server may be configured with one or more IP address of other DNS servers, okay, to which it will forward or delegate the query for all or particular DNS zone, if it does not have the answer. Iterative query. The primary DNS may include a list of names and IP addresses called root hints that allows it to query DNS root servers. DNS servers use iterative queries when communicating with each other. Okay? So DNS servers, when they are talking with each other, they are using iterative queries. And حتى the meaning of the word iterative meaning that, yeah, متقطع. From here, there. Many servers are responding. Forwarding and root hints are both methods that DNS server can use to resolve queries for which they are not authoritative. Let's see the diagram. So here we have recursive. The client, very simple, send the request to the DNS server. Okay. The DNS server take full responsibility. If it has the information, it will send back. If it does not have it, it will send it to second DNS server, and then the answer will come back. Okay? This is called recursive. Iterative, look here, we have the client, send the information to the primary DNS server, same here. But what happened here? He has a list. Okay. Exactly. Okay. I don't know. Yeah, let's say it will say, okay, you request this, but I know that these servers, they have the information. So it will send it to Contoso. Contoso will send it to .com sorry, the opposite. Your request will go to the root. The root will say, .com. I know where is .com. It will send it to .com, and then .com will say, okay, I know where is Contoso, and then Contoso will reply with the host. So it is iterative. You see how many times it is done? Many people are trying to solve this question. Any questions? The hosts and LM hosts files are used for name resolution, and they are stored under Windows this folder. Okay. These are containing the file mapping the IP address to host names and are used for DNS name resolution. Yani this is URL, this is the IP address. Dell.com, this is the IP address. Okay. We call this file LM hosts. Okay. They are called hosts. The LAN manager hosts contains the mapping of IP addresses to computer names, and they are used in net bias for name resolution in both files. Now we are not going to use this because we are using the DNS. We are not going to create the files or edit these files. We are going to use the DNS. We create the zone automatically. Okay, but they are showing you how they are, what's going on behind the scene, how it was first created. Okay. Their DNS has different zones. Okay. Or we call it AD, Active Directory. The DNS zones is the hierarchical structure and hierarchical, and like a tree. Okay. That enables the existence of DNS zones. The AD namespace is very much related to the DNS namespace. Okay. This is because AD and Active Directory. We still did not study Active Directory. We'll study it later. Then you will understand more what we are talking about here. Okay. The DNS namespace can be divided into zones. Okay. Which store information about domains. And DNS provides 3 types of zones. Please remember this. We have primary zone, stores the primary copy of the DNS database and maintains all DNS zone records. Then we have the secondary zone. It acts as a backup of the primary zone. Okay. So if the primary zone is unavailable, the secondary zone will resolve. The stub zone represents the secondary zone with no editable primary copy of the database and contains sufficient information to identify the authoritative DNS. Yani stub zone is a one unique case of the secondary zone. Authoritative DNS server, we already talked about iterative and authoritative, can either be configured manually by a system administrator or dynamically by other DNS servers. It represents the DNS server, which contains the DNS records of the actual domain, okay, which is the authoritative DNS server. Okay. In contrast, a non-authoritative DNS contains the cached information that has been constituted by previous DNS lookup. So where is the primary zone located? Where? In the DNS server. So, the secondary zone, DNS server. Stub zone, DNS server. They are all located in the DNS. And we are going to create it in the lab. Okay. You know, you have created a zone. But sometimes there is a need that this zone is transferred to another location. These are the cases when a zone transfer will happen. And they call it events that trigger a zone transfer. The initial transfer occurs when a secondary zone is created. Of course, you will need to transfer the zone to it. When the zone refresh interval expires, because each zone has a time to live. Okay. The DNS server service is started at the secondary server also, this will create a zone transfer. Or if the master server notifies the secondary server that changes have been made to a zone, yalla do zone transfer. So if there is any changes, then it will send, the master will send to the secondary. Why? Because you want the information to be the same, huh? You want it to be synchronized. Any questions? And when you do zone transfer, there are 3 types of zone transfer. There is the full transfer, which takes more time, or incremental, yani only the changes, or only on notification, yani you are notifying about some change. Okay? By default, for security, zone transfers are disabled. But you can choose one of the following to enable it. You can allow it to any server, allows data transfer to any server that asks for a zone transfer, but this one is least secure. Or only to servers listed on the name server tab. Okay? So it restrict zone transfer to secondary DNS servers. Okay, so it's more secure than the previous one. The last one is the most secure one, only to the following servers, which you add them. So it will not transfer to anybody else. Why is it important, zone transfer? Why is it important? Because you have all the information about your organization, each server or each domain, what's their IP address, you know, it's okay. So you have to protect this information. The best way, or some people recommend, to store DNS in Active Directory. And that's the best. And this is what we will do in the lab. Why? For fault tolerance, for security, and for efficient replication. Replication, yani to replicate the information to other zones, other devices. So please, these are all important slides, by the way. So these are the benefits of using Active Directory to store DNS. Okay, please read it. شو يعني fault tolerance؟ يعني انه it is in case of any fault it will has less problem. Okay. Security, because you are using Active Directory, then it is more secure. Of course, you know, Active Directory, Active Directory, it is the one that authenticating users to the Windows server. Okay. Also, it will secure dynamic updates. Okay. It will prevent unauthorized computers from overwriting existing names in DNS. What is the replication scopes? To whom you want to replicate? We have one is to all domain controllers in the domain, or to all domain controllers that are DNS servers in the local domain. This is the default one. You will see these options when we install DNS. Then the third option is to all domain controllers that are also DNS servers in the entire forest. So we have host, we have domain, we have forest. The last one, you are sending it to all domain controllers in the entire forest. So it takes more time, correct? The default is the one in the middle. You are sending the replication to all domain controllers that are DNS servers in the local domain. To install DNS, we are going to do this in the lab. DNS is a role. Very simple, easy steps to install it. So you choose DNS server here, and then you install. Then you configure the zones. You select the primary zone, okay? You see here, store the zone in Active Directory. Available only if DNS server is a writable domain controller. Okay, if you have Active Directory. And it is recommended. Remember, we said for security, you get more benefits if you put your DNS on the Active Directory. And then it will ask you, okay, the zone replication scope. Remember, we said how many scopes we have? 3. Which one is the default? The middle one. To all DNS servers in the domain, not in the forest. Okay. Forest is the biggest one. I will give you some example to understand what is forest. Okay. When a client contacts a DNS server and the DNS server does not know the answer, it performs an iterative query to find the answer. DNS servers can be configured to be forwarded to another DNS server or a conditional forwarder based on the domain name queried. We have already mentioned this. What is a forwarder? A forwarder controls name resolution queries and traffic, can improve the efficiency of name resolution on a network. Okay. So when there are a request for DNS queries, it will forward it to the appropriate location. It's called forwarder. It will make your network faster and more efficient. Now, when you want to view the zone, we are going to see this in the lab. So we will be doing our first lab, inshallah, next week on DNS on Windows Server. So these are the configure zone transfer settings. Any questions so far? Okay, please read the summary. Read it, please. brief idea about our next chapter, and then we will leave. Okay, I don't want to start any. Just few slides.